wait a little bit for some administrative details to be resolved. Can you just closer? So I'm going to read the notice into the record while we wait for some additional administrative details to be resolved. This is Z20-083, the Verity petition. The request here is for a conditional use for automobile laundry, mini mart, drive-through food service in conjunction with an automobile service station in a B2 general business district. We have underlying zoning is B2. This is Downers Grove Township petition. The letter was published in the Daily Herald on November 25. And I'll note for the record that we have a 5.62 acre site. I have, for the most part, no objections or comments from neighboring municipalities or departments of DuPage, with these exceptions. Public Works Department indicates no objection to the concept of the petition, but indicates they will need additional information at the time of the permit application. Downers Grove Township indicates no objection with the concept, but also additional information may be required at the time of the permit. Noise and light may be an issue, and the developer needs to address, I guess, those concerns. And then the Township Highway Department indicates, again, no objection with the concept, but needs information at the time of permit application. And they make a general remark that they request that construction traffic use Route 83 rather than 91st Street. That will not be resolved by the zoning board. We also have a letter from the village of Fir Ridge, which is in our packets of information. I'm not going to read that letter. We're trying to summarize the letter, but it asks us to be mindful of several items enumerated in the letter. I now want to indicate that before we commence with the hearing, I was notified prior to the hearing that a neighbor objected to this matter going forward because they indicated that they did not receive proper notice. It's our procedure in that instance to take a report about that neighbor. Incidentally, is not here to make comment. It's our prior practice to ask one of our staff members to summarize the matter. And I'm going to ask Mr. Hoss, who should probably be sworn in, to give us a factual representation about what the particular issues of the notice complaint are and what was done with respect to issuing notice.
Would you raise your right hand, please? You do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give at this closed hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So I'll be back.
I do.
Okay, Paul, just give us the background.
So we had an email complaint from one of the adjacent property owners that indicated that they had not received notice. For the board's edification, we are required by state statute to send notification to property owners that are immediate adjacent to the property. The county zoning department has a longstanding policy of notifying property owners within 300 feet of the property, which encompasses immediate adjacency. We have provided documentation in the file that shows we sent notification to property owners in 300 feet of the property, generated from our GIS system, which grabs information from the county treasurer and the county recorder's office in terms of property ownership. That's where we get our information from. And we've sent notice, and it's included in the file, to over 90 property owners that are within 300 feet of the subject property.
And you send that those notices by registered mail or
We send it by domestic mail,
regular mail?
mail, correct.
And to the best of your knowledge, that was done with respect to how many? 300?
Approximately 90 property owners. That's correct.
How many complaints did you have?
We received one complaint, and the complaint was generated, as I understand, from a neighbor who got information from another neighbor within the homeowners association that they had received notice.
Is it the neighbor that asserts a failure of notice who called you?
Send an email.
Sent an email?
That's correct.
And when was that?
That was, I believe, on Tuesday.
Okay, now I see there's a lady here that's indicated something. Do you, who are you, ma'am?
Okay, my name is Linda Esposito. I reside in unit 437 Carrington Circle,
Where is that in relation to this property?
right behind.
Okay,
So,
do you want to make a statement?
yeah, I would like to.
Could you raise your hand and be sworn in?
Sure.
You do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give this cause now hearing to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God.
Ma'am, come up to the podium before you do anything wrong.
Okay.
Just start.
Okay, while we're waiting for you, we have a limit of 10 people who can attend this meeting, and the petitioner has a number of witnesses. Most of our board members have agreed to appear by Zoom for this hearing so as to accommodate the greatest number of neighbors, petitioners, representatives, etc. So we're going to ask to limit the room to 10 by having some of the petitioners, witnesses and experts step outside the room until such time as they are required to give testimony so that we can have these board members attend and the other board members here by the Zoom. So, now, tell us your name again.
Okay, I'm sorry. My name is Linda Esposito. The unit that I live in is unit 437. If this is the property line and you guys are the proposed gas station, I live right here. And so when I received the information in the mail of this zoning meeting and what is proposed, I wrote up a petition to send to the people in our complex that are directly affected by the borderlines of the proposed property. Many of the people that I talked to had not received it, so who knows what that means. But they said they never received it until they talked to me. They had no knowledge of what was going on. There was a mention earlier, several years ago, that someone was interested in the property and had cleared off some of the land. That was never issued to us either. So at least some of us got the information. We have a management association, and the management association was not indicated that anything was going on either. There was a board meeting via telephone the other night, and due to the letter that I sent out to our residents in the area, the management company sent a notice to everybody to send an email to you guys if they didn't feel comfortable coming to the meeting, you know, with the COVID thing and so on and so forth. So I do have all that documentation I can give to you along with the email that you did receive.
I'll take your testimony as to the issue of who received notice. Anything else you want to say on the notice question?
No, the people that returned the letter that I wrote to them and signed it and put their unit number down, those are the people that claim they never got anything in the mail.
Okay. Why don't you go see it again, please?
Okay.
I'm going to rule that we will proceed with the hearing. It appears that notice was attempted to be given in accordance with the state statute. The practice or policy of the county, which goes beyond the legal requirement, is precisely that, only a practice which might be referred to as a courtesy. And so I'm going to rule that proper notice was given and that we will proceed. Even in this instance, if notice is complained of by one person who contacted Mr. Haas by email. That person apparently had effective notice somehow, perhaps from Ms. Zito, because they were in touch about this hearing, so I don't think they're harmed. I really can't take, with respect to a critical matter as to whether we have the right to proceed, I can't take hearsay testimony. I understand it's a little difficult because, people are not inclined to attend because of COVID. But my ruling is that we're going to proceed as this notice was properly given as required. That is a matter which can be taken up again. This is simply a ruling of this board whether or not to proceed. If we have a fatal, if I have ruled incorrectly, and if that is fatal to this proceeding, there are remedies as you go up the chain or up on administrative review. But I think we've got a lot to do, and I want this matter to start to move forward. Let me make another preliminary remark. We have a significant number of exhibits. I attempted to review some of these exhibits, which I received by email. I don't think that I was able to adequately review the email copies of things such as the site plan. And I now have what is offered, or what will be offered, as the site plan, and I have a large typical survey style copy of that. Some of the issues that we will have to consider this evening for this hearing are very substantial as they relate to the site plan: circulation, stacking of automobiles or car washes, which is always one of our concerns. And so therefore, I'll let the petitioner proceed as they desire, but I think another hearing will need to be held, probably for a number of reasons, but certainly because all of the members of the board should have the benefit of a site plan that is manageable and able to be digested carefully in some detail as the testimony proceeds about the configuration, the traffic pattern, circulation, etc. In addition to that, we will have our 1 hour limit tonight. We started about 5 minutes late, so we'll go to about 5 minutes after 7. Then we'll convene to the next available date. We've introduced this 1 hour limit, again, because of this, the COVID restrictions. With that, I've already read the petition into the record. Are there any procedural questions from the board before I go forward and introduce the petitioner for testimony? We're all good? Okay, thank you. Then we have an attorney for the petitioner. Would you identify yourself, sir? Yes.
Good evening. My name is Lyman Tiemann. It's spelled T-I-E-M-A-N. And I'm the attorney for the applicant, Leonard McHenry. Mr. McHenry is currently under contract to purchase this property from the owner, who was also identified in our petition. And the owner is Rifat Boridi. And the property is located at approximately 9200 South Route 83. It's obviously an unincorporated DuPage County, and it contains 5.62 acres.
Okay, before you go on, could you just introduce your other witnesses?
Yeah, I can do that now, or I can do that as I call them up. But
well, I want to have everybody sworn in at the same time.
okay, I have Scott Pritchett. Scott is with Arsa Associates. He's our architect and land planner. Next to him is Brian Furtz. Brian is with MG2A and Associates. Brian is our civil engineer on the project. And also we have Javier Milan, who's with KLOA, and Javier is appearing tonight remotely via Zoom.
If you have not already done so, when you speak, you spell your last, you may have given the court reporter business cards or something, I don't know. But when you begin to speak, identify yourself and spell your name. Next, we have quite a number of exhibits. Our custom is to take the survey as exhibit 1 and the site plan as exhibit 2. Is this document on the aerial on which there are some notations about location of buildings and?
Yes, that is the site
What's
plan.
your site plan?
Yes,
Right, your survey is obvious, so we'll mark those as 1 and 2. And as you proceed, you can, any other document that you refer to, just, give it an exhibit name and we'll accept it as an exhibit. I'm probably not going to get to public comment tonight, but I will indicate now, and hope to remember at the end of the meeting, that public comment will be taken on this case for 15 days following the closing of the final public hearing. People can comment in public at any time by sending us an email. I'll give those details later. But the limit for public comment will be 15 days after the close of the final public hearing. Now, Mr. Teeman,
yes.
please go.
Yes, if I may, there's one additional person that will be perhaps offering testimony this evening, and that is Leonard McHenry. He is my client, and he is the person who has filed the application, and he is under contract to purchase the property. He stepped out of the room a few moments ago to keep us under our 10-person capacity.
Okay, so we'll swear him in when he testifies.
Yes, thank you.
Can everybody raise their right hands, please? You do solemnly.
Oh, he's coming in so as to be sworn in, so.
You do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give this class now hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So help you God.
Yes, I do.
Great, thank you very much.
There are a number of exhibits that we have that we're going to be referring to this evening, and as we get to them, we can put them up on the board. And I do understand that not all the members of the ZBA have had the large copies of the survey and site plan and some of our other exhibits. So if need be, we'll put them up here on the board and have our experts run through them with you. But if you need additional copies, we'll be more than happy to get those to you. So we can distribute those at a later date.
We'll have these, we'll have the hard copies delivered to the members.
Okay. The property in question is on Route 83, which is a major arterial road. And it's located on the west side of the street. Currently it's zoned, as you indicated, a B2 zoning under your zoning ordinance. And my client is in the gasoline service business. He operates a number of gas stations throughout the northern Illinois area. And the property is zoned currently as B2. Permitted uses of that property are for a gas station and for a mini mart. Typically with our developments, we like to incorporate a car wash, and also typically we have food vendors in the convenience store mini mart that require a drive-through food service to provide food service out of the mini mart. I would like to, at this point, I think in order to put everything in perspective, I think it probably is best that we go through the site plan a little bit more in detail so you can see exactly what we're talking about in relationship with the gas pumps to the convenience store to the car wash, traffic and stuff, things of that nature on site. So with that, I would ask that our planner, Scott Pritchett, come forward, and we can put the site plan up on the board here. And
Good evening, my name is Scott Pritchett, Pritchett. I'm an architect with Parsa. We represent Lenny in his gas and water project. We are working with Brian, civil engineer, on the layout and site plan for this project. And it sounds like it is a gas station and a car wash. We are proposing to put in a 7,000 square foot retail store, your typical convenience store, which will have potentially 2 food vendors in it. Commonly, one of them is a Dunkin' Donut or something similar to it, which will have a drive-through. And there's usually a second food vendor as well, which will not have a drive-through. We will have, in this case, we'll have 7 dispensing islands out in front for fueling. So we'll have driveways coming in off of Route 83, we're indicating right now, a right in, right out to the north, and then a full access farther south. Of course, these will be required to be reviewed and approved by IDA. We'll be going through not only the county, but the state for a number of our approvals. One of those approvals will be for the fueling station itself. Fueling systems are required to go through the state fire marshal for approval. There's a number of items that are required in order to meet their code requirements. In addition, we have the car wash, which will be to the north. We talked about stacking. We have, this is an express exterior car wash. We have 3 stack lanes. So we have three lanes that you can pay at. People come to the pay station. These stations are similar to like an ATM where you'll interact with the screen and you can pay with a credit card or by cash. We then pass the pay stations, queue the cars into the car wash. It is a fully automated car wash. No one works on the car, no one touches the car. It's completely done by machines, including drying. We will typically always have at least 2 people on staff at that location to monitor the cars as they're going through the process. They'll exit to the south, back onto the same lot. In between the pay station and the car wash itself, we'll have vacuums. These vacuums are free to customers for use. It's a common feature now. You probably have seen this. There's quite a few of these types of car washes that have gone up in the last 2 years in the Chicago area.
Is the vacuum area on the site plan someplace and on that?
Yes. Yes, so here is the right in, right out, and here is the car wash. So the pay lanes are here. Pay lanes are here. Stacking into the car wash and through the car wash out, back onto the same lot. The vacuums are right here in this area. You can go into the vacs from either side. And as I said, the vacs are free to customers for use. This is the retail store here with parking in front, and we also have parking lot on the side here. We have the 7 fuel dispensing islands here. We have a separate area for truck fueling. We never like to have trucks fueling at the same spot where cars are fueling. We always sell diesel. Diesel is always available, but usually there's a conflict. We give an area large enough with the islands and for fueling, it's a conflict with trucks. We provided a separate fueling area for trucks over here. Truck fueling is not a large part of our business, but we do want to accommodate them when we can. And we want to make sure that there's no conflict with automobiles. So we have a second full driveway down here. I got to be reviewing that, as I said. I'm sure there'll be refined turn lanes and deceleration lanes for that. There's a whole cut that's already existing in this location. We'll be trying to enhance that cut that's currently there. Brian, our civil engineer, can talk a bit more about that, and also about stormwater issues and landscaping. We are conforming with the county zoning ordinance in regards to setbacks along the back side here. We are actually, we'll be down on the ground a little bit. We'll be providing a retaining wall on the back side here. We'll be down several feet in the ground with retaining wall, and then there'll be a privacy fence for the county's requirements and standards on top of that retaining wall. And then we'll maintain the buffer of trees that are there now from that setback retaining wall to the existing property line to the west. Here is the drive-through proposed around the retail store. As I said, that's typically for one tenant, and typically it's a Dunkin' Donut or something similar to that. The buildings will be all masonry buildings. They'll match along with all the elements in sign, bases, refuse containers, all those things all match on site. We do a quality project where we want high quality materials. We're gonna meet the county's requirements for all lighting standards. We'll also be dealing with the state in regards to not only IDOT, but also the state EPA and the state fire marshal for meeting their requirements. The buildings will be required to be fire sprinkled, so they'll be protected by fire sprinkler systems. So we will be meeting all standards as required for building code. So I have some renderings here, which you will have this in your packet as well. This is intended obviously to show you what the final product will look like. And you'll see on the first cover page that you'll see that the building itself is made out of masonry. And we also use masonry around the columns of our canopy to enhance the canopy out in front. So there'll be masonry throughout the entire site, and they're all mats.
This is, again, survey is 1, site plan is 2. You want to offer this as group exhibit 3, or do you have different numbers? No, that would be great. Okay, we'll take these renderings as group exhibit 3.
So as you go through the renderings, the second.
If you could excuse me for a minute, Bob, if someone's making comments or asking questions, I'm not hearing it. So when he jumps back to give his presentation, I have no idea what he's answering.
You know what? I think I was the one.
Pretty hard to hear.
I was the one that asked the question, and that was only the numbering of exhibits. I have, if you hold those up again, there's a group of renderings that has been offered. I questioned the exhibit number only, and he gave the answer. I'm trying to read my site plan and juggle this microphone at the same time, but I'll give a little bit of a higher priority to the microphone. All right, go ahead.
All right, so the renderings are intended to give you an idea of what the final product will look like. You can also see that we have a number of sites that follow the same quality. You can visit any of our sites to see the kind of work that we do. But you'll see that there's masonry on the buildings that is used throughout the entire site. We'll follow all requirements for landscaping and for site lighting. So as you scroll through these, you're going to see different viewpoints, and this is one of the gas station itself, the fueling islands in front. We're anticipating Dunkin' Donuts here. It's still be determined. We have a sign on here though. There's the retail store behind and the car wash in the distance. Here's a rendering of the side with the drive-through. We do have one utility shed where we maintain some site landscaping issues in the shed. Another rendering here looking at straight on off of 83, looking west straight at the retail store and the fueling. So we try to give you as many, and here's one that looks on the back side, at the back side of the drive-through where we have the retaining wall and the fence on top of it. And there'll still be a line of trees behind that that we're going to maintain that's existing. Here's an overall aerial that probably gives you a better feel for the entire concept, which shows the gas station here, the car wash here, parking lots in between, truck fueling down here. There's the retaining wall with the fence and the trees behind us. The intent of these renderings obviously was to try to give you a picture that shows how this final product will appear. So here's another one looking overhead. We feel a picture with 1,000 words.
Well, it's worth 1,000 words to put things in general perspective, but you know, renderings don't really mean too much to us. The site plan is much more critical because the color of the building, you know, that's shown on the renderings is illustrative, but certainly it's not going to bind you in any way.
Well, the owner has a genuine interest in making all of his projects quality.
Well, that's good.
And I think the renderings, the last two renderings actually show overhead views, which help give you a true feeling of the site plan other than just the two-dimensional site plan we're looking at. This puts it in a little more of a perspective view.
Okay. How many witnesses do you anticipate that are going to talk about the configuration of the site and site plan questions? because maybe we could, while we have this witness, maybe we could take some questions from the board if he is your principal witness about the layout of the site.
Yes, Scott is our principal witness concerning the layout of the site. We do have our civil engineer here who will talk more about parking and stacking and things of that nature, access.
Well, why don't we-
and out of the site.
Why don't we do that then first?
Do
Start with him.
the civil engineer.
We'll hold on our questions until we hear from the civil engineer.
Oh, okay, very good, thank you.
I'm Brian Hertz. It's Hertz, like Hertz Rental. I'm a licensed professional engineer in Illinois with MG2A. And we've been working on this site plan. I was going to talk about the drainage maybe first. The drainage on this site is pretty straightforward. Everything drains from west to east for the most part. There's a small area at the south end that drains more towards the southwest. There's down towards the existing tower that's there on the site. There's some drainage that goes up the southwest. So there's two drainage basins on this property, and it's almost split where the parcel line is. If you're looking at the survey, there's about 3.4 acres in tract 2, and there's actually about maybe another half of an acre on that southern portion that has a drainage basin at the south end. So on the north end, we've got about a half acre less than the 2 acres that's shown. With the drainage at the north end, everything's pretty much draining towards Route 83, meaning we'll have to go through the IDOT hydraulics review. Hydraulics section can review this in detail. You might notice that we don't really have any area that we can put your normal type of surface detention on the northern portion. So we're planning for some underground detention chambers or storage to be provided in the area where the pay stations are. That may extend in under the pavement, probably west towards where the the driveway is next to the vacuum stalls. That will release water at a controlled rate. Need to comply with the county stormwater ordinance. Upstream of that, we'll have to provide the BMPs that the county looks for stormwater designs. We can probably do some infiltration trenches and things like that that are in the county stormwater ordinance. That'll be worked out with final engineering. But then on the south end, we have the typical stormwater basin shown towards the west side of the truck area, truck fueling. That there would lead primarily to that southwest area I was talking about earlier by the cell tower. And again, it would be in a controlled release rate for the county stormwater ordinance. We would have a structure with restrictors in it, releasing that water at a slower rate.
This Esposito, could you just, I can't hear comments from you now, okay?
Well, I would like him to use the big map to point out what he's talking about.
So that's where the typical stormwater detention basin is to be located. This area up here, where I was talking about the underground storage.
Did you not say that there are two stormwater detention areas, but I see one on the south end east and south end west?
Correct, right. So at that south end, there's about 3.8 acres in that southern drainage basin. And that real small one up towards Route 83, that's probably going to be like an infiltration type of basin or a pre-treatment basin that discharges to the main detention area to the west.
So it will be a dry bottom, most, unless it's holding.
Right, probably like a wetland type of bottom, right?
Okay, and then, but there is a third, and that is the underground retention.
Correct. That's at the north end.
All right.
Up there where the pay stations are.
And for these, there's a configuration here that's not marked. I was not looking at you when you were telling us where the truck fueling stations are, but I presume the truck fueling stations are these marks sort of southwest.
Correct. Right in this area here.
How many are there?
There's 3 truck fueling positions.
Okay. Are the underground storage tanks for gasoline and diesel shown on this site plan someplace?
No, no. Typically, we'll try and locate them so that they can tie in with the automobile fueling and then run lines back to the 3 truck fueling positions. Sometimes there'll be a separate tank, depending, it just depends kind of how things work out. But sometimes there'll be a separate tank, probably located due south.
The reason that's important for us is that we need to understand on the circulation question, we need to understand how this whole configuration works with your fuel deliveries. So oftentimes we get a general idea when the gasoline tanks are refueled, but we need to know where they are. So can you,
Yeah.
have you decided that yet?
Yeah, usually they're located right up here in front of the automobile fueling, probably towards the south end in this case.
So that's not fully resolved,
No, they're not showing on here.
but you don't know where they are. That's why they're not shown.
Right, right. We usually work that out.
State Farm Road.
Reviewed by the state fire marshal.
Right, well, let's see what we can do about that as time goes by. Because, as I said, it's a traffic configuration. It's funny, I didn't know that they were done late because in virtually every other case that I can remember, they've been shown on the site. But let's proceed. Right in.
Okay, I mean, that's the drainage. That's kind of what's going on with the drainage here. Everything is either draining to the IDOT right of way or to the southwest. I can answer any questions. If anybody has a question about the drainage, or we can.
And what's the status of your work with DuPage County Stormwater? Preliminary so far?
Very preliminary, yes.
I just wanted to ask our engineer if there's anything that we're doing on the site that would increase the potential for flood damage within the property.
No, we have to comply with the county stormwater ordinance, which, that's going to address that. There's no, mapped floodplains in this area. There's no mapped FEMA floodplains or DuPage County floodplains. So we don't really have any of those types of issues on the site.
Did you discuss traffic flow within the site?
Sure. Kind of pointed out on this larger drawing. So, I think Scott had mentioned earlier, we have a right in, right out shown at the north end, just south of where the car wash is located. Vehicles would come into the site there and then either decide that they need to go to the car wash first, and then they would enter the pay stations and the queuing for the pay stations, or they would turn south, turn to the left, and then approach the automobile fueling islands, get their fuel, run in and grab something at the convenience store, what have you, And then there's also the drive-through here. They could enter the drive-through, come through, come back around, exit the south side of the C-stores where the service window would be for the drive-through. Menu board would be located somewhere along the west side of the building. Usually it's towards the, like in this case, up here. That gives sufficient spacing for cars to, time to make their order. And once they get to the window, the orders, you're ready. In this case, we have a 2-lane, we have a bypass lane south of the lane for the pickup window. So if someone needs to go around, they can go around and get out. So once they've done that, they can either go north and go get a car wash if they didn't do that, or they can turn south, go out the full access to Route 83. That full access we show on Route 83, we've got a left turn lane shown in Route 83 to the south, where there's currently a grass median in this area here. And that would provide for left turn movements coming into the site, which is all going to be reviewed by IDOT. This is discussed in the traffic study that's been submitted by KLOA. On the right turn lane, I should point out too, that we also got a right turn acceleration lane starting at the north end of the site up here. So we've got a full deceleration lane to the right and right out. And we've also got deceleration lane for the full access south. Again, it'll all be reviewed by IDOT. We don't have any sort of cross access connection to the north. There's no way we can get to 91st Street. Well, that was one of the questions that was brought up by the Village of Burr Ridge. There's no connection to 91st Street.
So we have required in a good number of similar cases in the past. A site plan which shows turning radiuses for fuel trucks or trucks using the diesel stations, etc., so that we can have some comfort on the safety of the internal circulation. Is there a way that you could sort of get a drawing back in the form of drawing, show us the circulation that you just discussed, and particularly show us the truck circulation and size and length of 18-wheelers or whatever bike access?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's something we do on every one of these sites, basically. That's needed to be done to determine, in this case, for instance, at the south end where the truck fueling is, you can see that if the truck comes in, they can make this turn here. There's sufficient area for the truck to make that 180-degree turn, basically, to get fuel and exit back out to Route 83. So that stuff has been done. It's just not represented on the drawing, but I can certainly provide it.
Could you also address light standards, light poles on the site, in the interior and perimeters, and also any signage on the sites?
Sure. So the lighting, there is a lighting plan. Thinking that would probably want to be entered as an exhibit, maybe exhibit 4.
Well, I have to find it. Oh,
Got
the photometric.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yep.
So we'll take photometric plan or lighting plan as 4.
So if you're looking at that plan, there's a bunch of grid style tick marks and numbers on there. Those are the lighting intensity levels at that particular spot. based on the, parking lot lighting that's shown. Then we have the canopy lighting. Under the canopy, there's lighting fixtures that light the area for the fueling. There's a couple of double fixture area lights, for instance, on the north side of the right in, right out is the site. So right in this area here, there's a light shown there. It's a double fixture, and there's another one closer to the car wash. There's a couple more on the east and the north side of the car wash also. But those are all those LED fixture heads, and those are shown off to the right hand side. They're labeled SLM.
What about light poles? Are they shown here someplace?
The light poles aren't shown, but they're listed on here. The light pole height is usually listed on here. Yeah, it's shown as let's see, 20-foot pole plus a 2-foot base. So you'd have a concrete base board that's 2 feet tall, 20-foot pole on top of that.
So the way we do this, I'm surprised that 2 or 3 of the members haven't already jumped in with this sort of sentence that we always say. If we approve this, it is approved on the condition that we conform to the site plan. So we need those details on the site plan. Okay?
Sure, for the
Great,
whole
thanks. And so really what the photometric plan shows, which it doesn't show the exact location, it shows that you're not in violation of the photometric requirements on this property.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it does show the locations of the poles.
Oh, it does?
Yes. Yeah, that's what I was kind of describing. Is if you come in the right in, right out on the north side there, there's 2 little black squares. They've got a couple lines connecting them. That would be the first double fixture pole location. It's right about right here.
Yeah, it's hard to figure it out. Does it show that on the existing site plan? Because now I'm making it
No.
exhibit 4.
It'd be on exhibit 4.
So could you give us a little?
Can I swap over there and point it to you again?
Yeah, indeed. But I mean, for the record, the exhibit, I'm going to write it.
Sure.
These are all. Is there a legend?
There is on the bottom. It's really hard to read. Mine looks a little bit.
Yours does look a little different. Yeah. Well, see if you can do something to help us out.
Sure.
Thanks. So I know this is probably not able to be understood by the members who are not here, but I've asked that exhibit 4, which is the photometric plan, which does show the location of the pole lights, be revised just a little bit so that we know these little squares are indeed pole lights. And you'll see that when you get your hard copy. All right, go right ahead.
Okay, so the other thing to point out on there, I guess, would be that the canopy lighting is represented also. It's a single square, and you can see, there's quite a few of them on the automobile fueling canopy. I'd say there's, just looking at 18 or 20 of them, most likely. And then there's another 8 of those fixtures in the truck fueling canopy. That's shown those black squares in that area also. And then we've got the double pole fixtures kind of going around the perimeter of the truck fueling area. There's 5 of them there. And yeah, I'll just make sure that we get those labeled on here. point out the pole locations, what they are.
Okay. This is on there, but it's a bit of a struggle to match it all up.
Your copies, yeah, it's printed really light. Read mine better.
Okay. Well. Can you address the number of parking spaces on the site? Tell us what's required and tell us how many you have.
Oh, so currently we've got 14 vacuum spaces on each side. So typically those vacuum stalls they're used as parking stalls sometimes, but I'm not sure if the ordinance allows for those to be counted as spaces. We've got 28 vacuum spaces shown car wash. And then if you work your way south from there, you got 7 more spaces. Down here's 2 south of the car wash exit. So those would probably be most likely used for, maybe a couple of the employees in the car wash. Then sometimes people want to park over there if the other parking is full, but south of that, there's a dedicated paved area with another 16 parking spaces just north of the drive-through entrance, this area right here. And those would be, most likely used by customers of the C-store. Going south from there, we've got 11 spaces shown in front of the convenience store. There's 3 handicap parking stalls shown there. And we've got the remainder as parking spaces for customers. Working south, yet from there, there's 6 more spaces down here at the south end of the automobile fueling island. Then the last main parking area that we have on the site is at the very south end. We've got 15 parking spaces there. Those are labeled as employee parking spaces. That's typical on these sites to have about that many employee parking spaces, with the remainder set aside for customer use.
How many employees do you expect to have? If you know?
I don't know. We probably want to save that for the
Yeah,
owner.
it's wrong with this. Okay. And what about, I asked a little bit about signs, but if you answered, I don't recall your answer.
Right. No, the signs, typically the signs are located, close to the entrance. In this case, I would say probably the north side of the right and right out. This island right here would be a spot to have the monument sign. There may be another sign down at the very south end with some directional signage, indicating truck fueling here or something to that effect.
If you just give us, first of all, we need to know what kind of sign it is. I would like to see the site plan show the footprint of the sign and the square footage per face of the signs, which direction they face. Okay. Somebody's got that?
We can provide signage information, which will show the monument sign as well as signs on the canopy on the building. We try to represent that in the rendering as close as possible, which is what we normally provide. Yeah, that should be close, but we haven't had our sign guy actually prepare drawings for this site yet, but we can do that.
Well, like I say, these renderings are sort of, they're cartoons rather than specific indications on the site plan. So, are the signs to be LED signs, or are they static signs, or what kind of signs?
Most of the signs, including the monument sign, will be lit signs. They'll have lighting in them. They'll be internally lit. They'll be LED, yes.
With crawlers information?
I'm sure the owner will ask for a reader board, whatever's allowed by the county in regards to the size. There probably will be a reader board on the monument sign that will provide, scrolling information, however is limited.
Okay, so to be clear, you're gonna put it on this, you're gonna put that on the site plan, and provide the site plan?
Yes, we'll show the location, right?
So we're nearing the end of our allotted time. A lot left, landscaping, traffic study. What do you want to proceed? Who's is Javier the KO?
Yes.
Yes.
Here's on Zoom.
I mean, if he can be finished in 10 minutes.
I suspect it may take longer than 10 minutes.
Okay, then I was trying to save you.
Yeah, I understand that. If we're looking to come back to another date, probably best for us to have him.
If I would entertain, so maybe questions, just a few questions from the Michelle.
Well, I'll just repeat it. Ms. Anderson is suggesting that Ms. Esposito be given an opportunity to ask questions.
She came, she's one here related to what we talked about, just like I say on the big thing of where she lives. Keep it simple. There's gonna be another hearing, but you did come.
Okay,
and you
so,
afford her that opportunity.
so here's our rules are that you can comment in writing, but you're only supposed to speak once. You can ask questions, you can give a statement, whatever. Are you ready to do that tonight? So you don't have to come back?
No, I would certainly like to come back, just because there are things that you said.
What's your preference? Do you want to make your statement now and supplement it in writing, or do you want to wait until the next hearing?
Well, I just had like 2 quick questions.
Well, why don't you ask me the questions and we'll see if we can figure out. I can't let you speak on multiple occasions and then tell everybody else they only have one opportunity to speak. So tell me what your questions are and see if we can resolve.
Oh, I just had a question on the water. The drainage water is moving to the southwest. I'm not quite sure where that is on the map, but what I can. Southwest, to me, we go this way, which is right across the back end of the property. So I'm concerned about the water drainage back there from the highway. I don't know how that could be resolved. That was one of the other questions was, what is the buffer here between this car wash and here?
Now, why don't you try to answer that second question? I don't know that we said they're only in preliminary discussions with the stormwater department. So I don't know if you want to comment on.
Yeah.
Bob, after the presentation at the mic by them, everything else that's going on, I'm not hearing it at all. I have no clue what's going on. I didn't hear Janice. The woman walked up there, they're saying stuff. I have no idea. So if it's important, I can't do anything.
Well, I'm trying to resolve the rules concerning members of the public speaking on only one occasion. Mrs. Esposito said she wants to come back and make her statement and ask or follow-up questions when we have our next hearing. So we've just had these 2 items that she wants to see addressed in the presentation. One relates to a distance calculation, and the other is a general question about the flow of stormwater. So I guess, what do you guys want to just take those things now so we can resolve that?
Just a
Let
real
me
quick
ask you, hey,
clarification.
Bob?
Yeah.
If I may, I thought you had requested, and it was hard hearing a lot of times, so I apologize, that they were going to take their exhibits and show the ingress and egress with a traffic pattern outlining cars and trucks, dimensions, stacking, parking spots, highlighting what they are, show the exact lighting, show the location of the gas storage tanks, the storage, anything else, the waste storage, describe the car wash. They mention employees, not how many, where they'll be parking, the shifts. If you're going to do all that, that's fine. If not, then I'm not sure if you were asking for those as we went along, but it seems then we're at a premature spot to do anything.
We're not. We're having a follow-up. We're gonna get a new site plan which shows those things. Want to add garbage dumpsters to our list. And then we'll have follow-up testimony about all that at the next.
Well, some of it too, where they say signs, yeah, I guess we'll get what the owner wants, or the storage tanks are usually here, but they could be there. I'm, unless we're gonna get more, then
We're gonna get.
what has been said? When they're up there and they're saying, here are these things, we can highlight this, we usually do this, or we might do this. Are we getting this stuff, or is their presentation gonna finish?
No, we're having a follow-up public hearing. You will receive this preliminary site plan. They've agreed to revise the site plan to add all of the things that I've asked for during the course of the hearing and which you have summarized. And then we'll take additional follow-up testimony and we will ask our questions based on the new site plan, the follow-up testimony. Mrs. Anderson wanted Mrs. Esposito to start questions now. So, because she is here.
A few questions on courtesy, she asked
Right,
the questions. Can
right.
you wait till the next meeting for them to respond yet? Yeah, sure. Okay, fine.
Okay, so, we'll answer. Okay. These Zoom hearings are not the easiest on everybody. So I'm going to suggest that I don't want to, none of us are permitted to have any discussion with any member of the petitioner's team outside the scope of this hearing, or we are not permitted to vote. So I can't go beyond the hearing to sort of work this detailed information. Certainly the staff can do that. And, either of our staff members can work with you to sort of resolve the follow-up site plan. What I would like to do now is, just so that we have all of the exhibits in the record, could you give us, mark these exhibits and we'll at least have that detail resolved tonight? Or would you prefer to do that as you testify at the next hearing?
I think it probably would make more sense to do it at the next hearing because we do have the traffic report that's going to come in as an additional exhibit.
Okay,
So if it's okay with you, we'll just hold off doing that till the next meeting.
absolutely.
But you had indicated, and I certainly understand where you're coming from, that some of these things are not in great detail on the site plan. Depending on the date of the next hearing, we will have our engineer and our architect put everything down on a nice clean piece of paper so that everyone can see it and hopefully get full-size copies to all the staff to distribute to all of the board members prior to that meeting.
Right. Well, I was just about to go to that. I have a couple of alternative dates for the next hearing. And the first two are, the first one is January 7th. To the board, that's ordinarily a recommendation hearing date, but I'm told by staff we will have no items on the recommendation calendar. So we could set this for January 7th. If there's some urgency on the part of the petitioner, we would entertain, subject to whether it's convenient for all of the members of the board, a Tuesday hearing before that. But let's just start with the question, is January 7th an available date for the petitioner and a date by which you can have this additional information?
It's certainly an available date, and we can have everything to you in ample time prior to that meeting.
So that you don't want to try to, I'll take it. January 7th it is. All right, so we'll adjourn for the evening, reconvene on January 7th in this room, and that will be held at 6 o'clock. That time's good for you?
Yes,
All right, so to the board, our January 7 hearing is not 5:30, but rather 6 o'clock. Okay,
Okay, that sounds good.
thank you very much, gentlemen, for your presentation this evening. Thank you. And we're off the record.